All right, so look, Neely Fuller Jr. once said, if you don't understand racism, what it is and how it works, then everything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. And he was right. Because if you don't understand the system of white supremacy, not just what it does, but what it is, then everything else in this society will keep you disoriented. You'll be trying to make sense of the symptoms without ever seeing the root. Everything you see around you, the media, the politics, the religions, the beauty standards, the laws, all of it is an extension of that same root, the system of white supremacy. And it isn't just about individual hate. It's about control. It's a global network designed to maintain power through confusion. And that confusion becomes the air we breathe. White supremacy is not merely political. It's psychological. It's spiritual. It's what happens when consciousness disconnects from the natural order and falls into fear. It's a vibration built on scarcity, on the illusion that you must dominate to survive. When the divine masculine becomes domination instead of direction, when the feminine becomes suppressed instead of sacred, that imbalance creates an entire world that's out of alignment of truth. So what we call civilization is really just a system of insecurity pretending to be strength. It's the human mind out of rhythm with the cosmic mind. Dr. Francis Welsing taught that racism exists out of the fear of genetic annihilation. When you know that your genes are recessive and that the majority of the people on planet Earth carry the dominant gene, melanin, then survival becomes psychological. That fear of disappearance becomes a culture of control. From that fear came a religion that separated God from man. From that fear came science that sought to dissect rather than understand. From that fear came economies that exploit rather than share. And beneath it all is the same insecurity, the same hidden knowing that the sun gives life to some and punishment to others. So racism is not just about hate. It is fear pretending to be order. It is a survival program written by a consciousness that is trying to escape its own shadow. You can see the proof of it everywhere if you know how to look. Look at sports. The brown and black balls are carried, protected, and guided to glory. But the small white balls, the baseballs, the golf balls, they are hit with the maximum amount of force and violence. This isn't coincidence. That's the subconscious confessing through ritual. Look at what this culture consumes. Coffee, chocolate, Coca-Cola, whiskey, all dark liquids, all forms of melanin transformed into commodities. Look at what is admired but never fully accepted. Tanning, the full lips, the rhythm, the slang, the soul. Everything dark is desired but feared. Everything dark is worshipped and warred against at the same time. Even in religion, white is made holy, black is made evil. In education, history begins when Europe wakes up. The pattern is everywhere. This is how the system tells on itself. Because when a culture is born out of the fear of nature, it becomes anti-nature. And when you're anti-nature, you're anti-life. This is why everything feels upside down. The food lacks life force. The cities block the sun. The technology is trying to replace the soul. The rhythm of the world has been inverted. But all of that points to something bigger. White supremacy is not only a social structure, it's a spiritual imbalance inside the collective consciousness of humanity. It's the part of the mind that forgot that it was connected to everything. The white psyche represents that separate aspect of awareness, the part that believes it's alone in the universe. That's why it builds walls, hierarchies, and empires. It's trying to prove it exists by controlling what it fears. Melanin, on the other hand, represents the original connection. It's the biological expression of the cosmic womb that births all creation. It's the darkness that gives light its meaning. It's the living reminder that the divine exists within, not above. That's why the system attacks melanin, but also imitates it. It hates what it can't destroy and worships what it can't become. And that contradiction is the engine of the system itself. And this is why Neely Fuller Jr. said what he said. Because if you don't understand what this system is, why it exists, and how it operates, then you'll always be fighting illusions. You'll keep thinking that your enemy is just a politician or a corporation, when in truth, the enemy is confusion itself. If you don't understand how the system works, then you can't plan your escape. You can't navigate a maze you can't see. You can't reach liberation without understanding what you're trying to get liberation from. Understanding is the first step towards freedom, because once you can define your enemy, you stop being its battery. You stop feeding it. You reclaim your energy, and you begin to rise above its frequency. And that's when you move from protest to power, from resistance to resurrection, from confusion to clarity. But clarity doesn't mean denial. Clarity means seeing beyond the surface and into the structure of consciousness itself. Because beyond all of this, beyond the fear, beyond the illusion of difference, there is only one consciousness, one source playing all the roles and all the parts, the creator and the created, the oppressed and the oppressor, the light and the shadow, all pieces of the same infinite awareness exploring itself through time. Now this is the part where people get confused, especially white people. When they say one love and when we say one love, it doesn't always mean the same thing. For many of them, it's a slogan, a statement about peace. But for us, it's an ancient knowing that everything is connected through the same source consciousness. It's not a philosophy, it's more of a law. And I don't believe that they mean harm when they say it. I just think that the problem is their awareness has been trained to only believe the things that they can touch and measure. That's the nature of that degree of consciousness. It lives mostly in the material world. So when they say we're all one, it sounds kind, but to a melanated soul that understands this truth deeply, it sounds shallow. It feels incomplete. It literally feels like, you know that sound when you scratch the chalkboard? Because it comes from the surface and not the source. For us, one love isn't about human unity alone. It's about divine unity. It's about the recognition that the entire universe is mental, that every vibration, that every sound, that every particle of light is a part of the same divine awareness, that we are the source experiencing itself through form. And when you understand that, you start to see how the source expresses itself through creation. It unfolds through orders, through degrees, through different tones of frequencies and awareness. Melanin was that first language that source spoke when it first condensed into matter. It's the bridge between flesh and spirit, the original conductor of divine intelligence, the biological mirror of the cosmic darkness that births all light. That means the melanated man and woman aren't simply just human beings, but we are the original reflection of the source in physical form. If the macrocosm exists in the microcosm, if the universe is mental, then the original man and woman is the original mirror of the original consciousness. As above, so below. As within, so without. Everything we call life, this entire holographic reality, is projected through the collective consciousness of the original people. The world itself is a reflection moving inside our dream. That same source consciousness exists within white people too, but it operates differently. It functions as a program within the hologram, rather than the creator of it, a reflection inside of a reflection. And this is why the fear of melanin runs so deep, because on a subconscious level, this system knows what melanin represents. It knows that melanin is the original blueprint of divine awareness made visible. So yes, we all are one consciousness, but that oneness has structure, it has rhythm, it has order. The original people aren't higher by ego, we are higher by origin. And by higher, we're talking about frequencies and vibrations. We carry the first frequency, the first heartbeat of the universe, remembering itself in human form. This is important to realize because the truth doesn't destroy unity, it fulfills it. And confusion is how this system survives. On a soul level, we are one, but on a human level, we all have a lot of work to do. Melanated people must decolonize our minds from centuries of programming and trauma. We must remember that the system's lies were never a reflection of our worth. They were a reflection of its fear. And white people who truly wish to transcend the system have their own decolonizing to do. They must unlearn the illusion of superiority and face the conditioning that taught them to fear what gave them life. They must remember that the same divine source that they worship exists in the very people that they were taught to reject. Both sides have healing to do. Because liberation is not about revenge, it's about remembering. And when both sides begin to unlearn these lies, then the veil can lift. We can begin to see that it was always the same source consciousness behind every form. That the contrast was never punishment, it was curriculum. It was the divine studying itself through polarity and difference. When we finally remember that, we won't just end white supremacy. We end separation. We end confusion. We remember who we are. And in that remembering, we become free. Thanks for listening, y'all. One love. Peace.